So in this video, I wanted to talk a bit about how I use my Maschine Plus in conjunction with all of the equipment that I have on this setup. You can see I've got my Maschine Plus here, loads of synths, groove boxes, drum machines. I've even got some vintage gear spread out around this sort of home studio room. And I kind of wanted to do a video on how I've connected everything together, so you can kind of see how I'm able to utilize the equipment, connect everything up, and kind of make use of recording different synths in the Maschine. And the Maschine is my main device that I use for recording everything. And it used to be this over here, which is my MC707. This used to be the sort of the main focal point of all of my recording, and it's a device I still love. I think it's fantastic, but there are issues with it. It is a groove box, and in terms of some smaller issues I have with it, I don't like the sequencer, the screen, the quantize on it is pretty poor, to be honest, but I do love all of the sounds. The Maschine Plus is great for sort of sequencing compositions, putting stuff together. It's great for sampling. It doesn't have the sounds of the MC707, and I've kind of often said my dream device would be a sort of a merge of the two different devices. All the great Roland sounds, but in a sort of something like the Maschine would be absolutely perfect. And I love the Maschine. I love the pads on it and everything like that, and how quick it is to sort of build up a composition. And I suppose I wanted to figure out a way, because I've just moved into this studio, I've just wanted to figure out a way of how I can connect everything together and make use of the positives of all my different pieces of equipment and utilize it with Maschine being the main focal point. And when I'm creating beats and when I'm creating compositions, I think, I tend not to use a computer. I like to have my electronic instruments, because that's what they all are, instruments. I like to have them physical buttons. I don't want to use a synth on Logic and then be adjusting things with a mouse. It doesn't feel musical enough. So that's what I really love about synthesizers and groove boxes, is it's all done by hand. And the role that a computer plays on my composition process is right at the end. When I'm using the Maschine and I've finished the song, I'll just take it out of the SD card slot with all the multi-track audio exported, and then I put it into Logic for mixing, mastering and finishing that track, and maybe some arrangement stuff. I don't often use software instruments that much when I'm putting together a composition. And so what I really need to do was come up with a solution whereby I could connect everything together and overcome some of the limitations in terms of sound with Maschine, and try and utilize all the other great equipment I've got. So I'm going to kind of talk you through how that works. So Machine's right in front of me, and I've got my complete A61 controller to control all the inbuilt sounds between the keys and the pads. And the pads on the Maschine I love. I think they're fantastic. They're so responsive. But between those two, this is the basic thing I've got set up. The one thing you have to bear in mind is you've only got two line ins, left and right on the back of Hit This. So you're only connecting one device. And so that for me is going to be a mixer. And if you're looking to do a similar sort of setup, what you want to be doing is connecting a mixer and then having other devices connected to that. The mixer I've got is this. This is the Roland MX1. There's quite a specific reason I have this mixer. It's not for everyone, but I have the MX1 because I have a lot of Roland gear. I have the MC707, I've got a TR8S, I've got a TB3, a VT4, a JDXI, and behind me I've got a Roland RD-800 piano. And the great thing about this is that you've got USB ports on the back 4. So I can actually connect the MC707, the TR8S drum machine, the TB3 and the JDXI, which is just over here, via USB. That will take the audio but also sends the clock. And so my Maschine has the master clock. It tells the MX1 how fast everything is going to go, and that then sends it out to the different devices. So it means everything's in sync just via USB, so it's really convenient. And then I've got a bunch of analog and digital line-ins, which is then how I connect other gear. So I've got a Korg Wave State over here. On the other side of the studio, I've got a Korg Op6 that I've got connected to that. I've also got some vintage gear. Over here is a Roland RD-800. It's a synthesizer from the 70s. I've also got over here a Roland CompuRhythm. You can just kind of see over there. So that's all hooked up to this, and that's really useful because I can do lots of kind of sampling of different sounds, and that's kind of how it's connected together. It's not the greatest workflow if you're trying to use lots of external equipment. You know, this is not strictly not a linear sequencer, this Maschine. It has sample. When you record into it, it treats it like a sample. So you could, if you wanted to, record sections of audio, 8 bars or whatever, and then put it over the top. The workflow for that isn't kind of designed for that. It's designed for recording sounds, and you'd want to chop them up afterwards and kind of use it that way. But it's not the ideal workflow, but it depends on what you're trying to achieve. I mean, for me, I just want to be able to utilize the different sounds. The Maschine has good sound packs on it, but I want greater variety for different genres and things, and it does particular genres very well. They're not necessarily genres that I create a lot of my music in. So the sound packs have got great drum kits and things like that, but actually if I want some FM synthesis, then I need to go and use my Op6, which is over here, and record in using that. So what I thought I'd do is just do a real quick demo of that workflow and kind of how I might use it. And to do that, I've kind of made a beat, which I'll just play. It's just a short loop just to demonstrate. So that's it. It's just a few bars. There's nothing much going on. But in part of this demonstration, I thought I would record a melody line on the Op6. I've got this kind of fake theremin sound that I was going to put over the top of this. The key of this is sort of in some weird mode, so I'll just have to kind of, it's in E flat something, it's some kind of mode. So I'm gonna record using the Op6. I'm going to kind of show you the workflow. And the good thing is with Maschine is you can record loads and loads and loads of different loops from different instruments, and they're only under one of your sort of 8 channels, which is really convenient. So I'm on track C, and I've chosen my first sample. And then one of the quirks of using Maschine is some settings you just have to keep turning on over and over again. So one of which is turning on the monitor so you can actually hear the sound. So I've turned on the monitor here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the Op6 straight into this. So bearing in mind then, this is how this is working. The Op6, my synthesizer over here, is going into my mixer, the MX1, on one of the analog channels. And that's all turned up and ready to go. And what I can do is I can go over here. And you can start sort of playing it in, and you can see on the screen it's kind of picking up the signal from there. So obviously, when you're playing a melody line, you have to play in time with the beat. So I'm going to hit the start button to play the loop. And then about a bar before I'm ready to start playing, I'll hit the start button on the Maschine, which is just up here. Then I can actually play something in. So let's just have a go at kind of setting that up. So I'm just going to press this. Okay, so that's that bit done, and you can see the audio's been recorded, which is fine, but it's not going to automatically play, and that's a kind of another thing that you just kind of have to get your head around. It's not going to automatically take what you've recorded and apply it to existing material. So it's just something you have to remember. So now what I have to do, now I've recorded that in, it's assigned to this pad, that whole melody line. So what I have to do then is basically press record and hold that pad down to add that entire melodic sequence, that phrase over the top of my loop. You don't have to do that, of course. You can kind of chop up. You can go to the slice and you can chop up what you've just recorded into different segments, and you can have some kind of fun with that, and that's absolutely fine. But what I'm going to do, just for the purpose of this and how I might usually work, is I'm just going to hit the record button and then hold it down. And now the melody's added to my track. So, you know, that overall, that's fine. It's quite an easy workflow. I suppose where it starts to get more complicated is when you're in kind of song mode, and then you're assigning different patterns to each one of your scenes. And then obviously if you're playing different chord progressions, different bass lines, you can get muddled up. So you kind of have to remember where you've put particular chord sequences, particular bass lines that match up to that. It's just something you kind of have to figure out. But it's not too bad a workflow, and it means I can utilize different instruments. And another thing is that, you know, when I've got my my mixer, my own mixer, which is hooked up to this, I can actually make use of pedal effects. So I've got my Hall of Fame, I've got my June 60, I've got a sort of a bass preamp thing over here. So I can actually make use of effects, send them as, you know, use them as bus effects, and apply those to the external synthesizers. That's quite handy. You obviously remove the ability to change those effects afterwards, so you're kind of stuck with that. So you do have to be quite committed in that sense. But what using external synthesizers and external effects has for the Maschine is that, you know, it's less intensive for the machine. So, you know, we've read online that the Maschine will kind of crash if put under a strenuous workload. To be honest, with my use of it, even when I'm using all of the internal stuff, it's been absolutely fine. It's been no issues with it at all. And, you know, my experience isn't the same as other people. But, you know, using external effects, using external sounds, because you're not relying on the inbuilt synthesizers, the inbuilt effects as much, I suppose it does lighten the CPU load on the machine. I don't know, and it just kind of helps it feel a bit more stable. That's not my reasoning behind doing all this. My rationale is just I want a bigger bank of sounds. And as I said right at the beginning, my dream device would be all the Roland sounds and even some of the great Korg sounds with the Maschine workflow. And it's a fun compositional process, and it's a lot of fun having all this gear. So that's it really. I just want to talk through what my setup is, what that looks like, how I've connected everything together. You can see there's quite a few toys here, and having this set up like this just makes it kind of fun. So that's it. That's where I wanted to get to with talking about Maschine. Obviously, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. There might be some stuff you want to know, but also let me know how you're using Maschine as well. It's always really interesting to meet different people who are, you know, using this in different ways. But do let me know if you've got any questions, and do like the video if you can, and do subscribe if you want to see more content like this. But the main thing is just get in touch and let me know how you're using Maschine and what you think. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Have a good one. Have a great day, and I'll be back real soon. See you later.